Okay, so I'm joined by James from Hadouken. He's very kindly invited us into his quite a nice and quite clean, pristine dressing room compared to most.
Yeah, not like usually.
One of the nicest you've probably ever been in?
Yeah, maybe. The best ones are like the academy venues where they've just done them up or whatever.
So Hadouken, the band, firstly, I mean, the name, you've probably been asked this 1,000 times, it comes from the Street Fighter game.
Yeah, that's
so obviously
right.
a big fan.
Yeah, we used to play that when we were growing up, and just made sense. I don't know, most bands like pillage films for samples and the references, but we thought we'd go into the world of video games because it's a bit more uncharted. So yeah, we just chose that really.
Any of the names touted about, like Zelda or
no,
Alex Kidd?
No, I wasn't into those games. I liked Sonic and Mario and Street Fighter really. Yeah.
What inspires you? I mean, you kind of tackle quite a few subjects that are kind of relevant to growing up nowadays.
Yeah, definitely on that streets vibes and the Britishness about it as well. I think probably influenced by bands like the Arctic Monkeys and the way they kind of approach lyric writing, and then also kind of that kind of rap scene. But yeah, the streets were massive influence on us lyrically. But I don't need to talk about every day. I think we're going to move on from that now. I think done that sort of thing. I think we look for pastures new for kind of inspiration from now onwards. So.
I was gonna say, what's the most irritating things about journalists?
Two-facedness, I think. They're nice to you in interviews and then can write some horrible stuff about you. And generally, the way that I think the worst thing about journalists is, and this is probably more the music and written press than
being nice to us.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
you kind of got it.
Yeah, I just think the way that their culture moves so fast and the way that they kind of pick up a band and chew them up and spit them out before they've even had a chance to make an album or whatever. I mean, slightly with us, we're all right because we've got a fan base now. We don't need to be the media darlings now because we can, sell out 1,000 capacity venues and stuff like that. But I still think that there's probably a lot of bands in the past couple of years or whatever that have probably had a lot of potential, but because they're not interesting anymore to the press or whatever, they didn't get a chance to make their second and third albums because no one cared about them anymore. So I just think that the rate of which they kind of spit out bands is probably not healthy for music in general.
Do you think that's being perhaps accentuated by stuff like MySpace, where you perhaps they'll listen to the tracks on MySpace and then just make a kind of opinion then, whereas before it wasn't around? So
yeah, that's probably true. I think that the whole of the internet's had an effect on it. I think we're kind of just so new band obsessed, I think, in this country, and no one kind of cares about development of bands, which is a crying shame, because if you think about, you left someone like Radiohead on, they would never got to OK Computer, it would been their third album. They would have been like, oh, the first album's all right, but we're on to Manic Street Preachers now, so we don't care about Radiohead anymore. It's like, no, let's like an artist, let's listen to them, let's let them develop and see where they can get. Who knows where I don't know, band at the moment like I really like is Late the Pier, but I can imagine them making some sort of massive third or fourth album. Why do they need to make their first album be absolute perfection? And unfortunately, there are bands that make great first albums, but why has everyone got to kind of get it right first time, basically? I think there's big problems going on.